pushes that on the apparatus. Puncho with Cancel Kings. We make Christian content over here, guys. And we look at the crazy world that we live in. We're talking about the Space Force. 20-year veteran over here. I actually worked in space operations as an Air Force veteran. And I'll get more into how we felt about the Space Force being created. But let's jump into the Space Force basic training.
You are not running. Sergeant.
Oh, so they call them guardians. In each branch, we have our own name for our service members: sailors, soldiers, Marines, and of course, Air Force's airmen. They're calling these guys guardians, which is a very interesting name.
When I told you.
Wow! You have someone directly in front of you because you can't follow instructions. How incredibly hard 7.5 weeks of basic training will be for you if you can't follow instructions. Do you understand me?
Understand you, ma'am.
She's mad, isn't she? I remember a TI, technical instructor, not drill instructor for the Air Force. Technical instructor they just get so heated. You can see that the anger just steaming off of them.
Yes, ma'am.
So the female, she had on a Space Force tape. This guy's got an Air Force tape. So they're pulling double duty on this. The Air Force is carrying a lot of heavy weight to help the Space Force get training and also introducing new culture, looks like.
22.5 degrees off the center line of that side, which mathematically equals 35 degrees.
They're at Joint Base San Antonio, Texas. Exact same place Air Force basic training takes place. So they're really sharing a lot of the heavy lifting by having the Space Force adjacent to the Air Force. These guys are still wearing their civilian clothes, so this must be phase 1, day 1.
Yes, sir.
35 degrees.
Proceeding. 45 degrees. Yes, sir.
Here, sir.
Wake up.
Scream it. I said you're going to speak loudly and with confidence.
So you're wondering, why are they always yelling at these kids? Why do they have to yell? You want to rattle these guys. You want to get people you want to separate the wheat from the chaff. You don't want someone in a combat environment, high stress environment, that doesn't know how to take stressful situations or stressful encounters. Not so much with the Air Force where you're being yelled at. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've been yelled at in the Air Force. But working with the Army, Navy SEALs, also Green Berets, I got yelled at probably more in a deployment to Iraq or Afghanistan, working with those different services than I ever did in the Air Force. But the thing about it is, you want to filter those people out that can't take that kind of stress, especially in Army environments or, Special Forces environments. If the person can't take pressure, then what's the point? Let's continue, guys.
Get back up and say it again. Here, sir.
Stand up and say it again.
Here, sir.
7.5 weeks. I think our training was 8 weeks in the Air Force. I don't remember. You guys correct me in the comments.
Smith. Here, sir.
Hurry up. Let go.
Here are the females. Now, the ladies, they have a different dorm that they're going to stay in. We would call this like a sister flight in the Air Force. Not sure if this even flights with the Guardians. I don't know if they call it like a battle star instead of a flight. I'm making fun of these guys, but yeah, you got your sister flight here, and the female flights are even, or the female units are even smaller than the males in many cases. Let's continue.
Let's go. Find a bed. Go.
I can tell you, after week 3 or 4, these women wearing makeup, boy, whew, those some rough looking ladies out there. But you found out what true beauty was when women aren't wearing makeup.
Report! Right there.
As ordered.
Now try it all again.
Sergeant Lopez, training crop, reports as ordered.
Now, you said you don't have a lot. Empty all the...
What did he call himself? A training crop? Training what? See, in the Air Force, we would say, Sergeant whatever, Airman, Smith reporting as ordered. They're saying something different.
Performance in your backpack.
Somebody better identify who dropped 3 CWW now. Are you the teammate who picked it up? Are you the teammate who picked it up?
I picked it up,
You
yeah.
dropped the training bill? Did you already mark the training bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Check it right now.
This is saying officer training school, and shout out to Strike Theory for putting this video together. Graduate programs, civilian internships, and civilian training. Is it that easy to get into other adjacent organizations in the Space Force? Because it's a Herculean effort to try to become an officer out of the Air Force or even the Army and Navy. If you're enlisted, it's tough to be a civilian. I don't know why they're mentioning all this. Maybe it's easier to move in and out of the Space Force because it's so new.
Check it right now. Check it. If you're going to put your civilian luggage on top of that wall locker, do that now.
What? Give me a reporting statement. It's not hard.
Sir, training crowd.
Sir, training something. What is he saying, guys? If you guys know, put it in the comments. I don't understand what he's saying for his reporting statement. Like I said, for me it would be, Airman, Johnson reports his order. I don't know what he's saying.
Reports in order. As ordered. Do it again. Reports in order. As ordered. Do it again. Sir, training crowd. Reports as ordered. Do it again. Sir, training crowd. Reports as ordered.
Oh, this is their initial. That's why they're still wearing the civilian clothes. They still don't have their buzz cuts. I'm wondering what's going on. Get these guys haircut and get them, into the program. This is day one.
First number 6569.
You response to your operating command. Sir!
Hurry up. So you're going to say water monitors post. As soon as he says post, you're both going to take one step forward and put your hat on. Say one more time. As soon as he says post.
They're making these guys serve the food too.
Put your hat on and stay.
Are they in the Air Force dining facility? I don't remember if we had to serve food. We had civilians that did this stuff, or maybe military that were already in the service. You guys let me know. Are the Space Force guys helping with food because they're short-staffed or something?
And right here. Send it. Water monitors post. And put your hat on. Hey, so first thing you're going to do, every time that you're going to wash your hands, put your right hand.
Lift your backpack onto your chest. You will wait at the position of attention until your table is filled up, and then you'll sit down and eat. Lift your backpack to your chair. Lift your backpack to your chair. And then she almost knocked his stuff off, and then he almost knocked her stuff off. Do not walk backwards in here. He said what?
These drill instructors or technical instructors, they yell so much that they go hoarse. Their voices sound like this by the time they can barely even talk from yelling all the time.
That means walk behind him, the aisle behind him. Go. Back the
Now, are they always yelling? No. There are going to be situations where you're going through training, you're going through the chow hall, just talking to regular people that work at the chow hall, and you're not going to be getting yelled at 24/7. This is an example, I guess, here where they're in a training environment where they're not being yelled at. So don't think you're going to be yelled at 24/7, but you're going to be yelled at a lot. They're doing a physical fitness test already. Wow. In their civilian clothes. That seems a little weird to me. Why are they doing a PT test or evaluation while they're still wearing their civilian clothes? That's just strange to me. Therapist. What the heck does that mean? Okay, now these guys are wearing some kind of uniform.
Hey, you need to move faster than that. You're 3 minutes to make it fast. We're moving real slow this morning.
So they've got the classic buzz cuts here. They've got their uniforms on the wall here. These guys are probably in, day 3 or day 5, and they're getting processed into the system here. One quick war story here. I remember during basic, you start to see what you're good at and what you're not good at. I was not good at this bed making stuff. There were other people that were. What I was good at was kind of interfacing with the leadership and kind of being stoic, I guess. So I would do dorm guard, and dorm guard, they would come up would try to get into the dorm, and if you didn't acknowledge their credentials properly, you could get sent back to the previous grade or whatever, or the previous week. So there were people that were terrified of that job. So what did we learn to do? We learned to work together. I would have someone fold my clothes, include my underwear sometimes, maybe even make my bed, and I would do dorm guard shift for them. And that turned on a key in my mind early in my career that I got from basic. And this is a life lesson here for you guys. You work better as a team. You're going to find out, just like the Bible says, there's the body of Christ. A hand can't be an eye. A foot can't be a stomach. Everybody has their own gifts and their abilities, but when you get together, you work as a unit. And that's what I learned in basic training. I took that to my next duty station, and there were people there that weren't good at briefing. And I did a lot of briefings. We all had to brief, but I was exceptionally good at it. So I would trade the briefing for the administrative work, and people did more back office stuff. And these are some great lessons just to take through life that I got out of basic training.
Wow. That's what, when did he tell you this? Yesterday.
All right. These guys are going through a deployment scenario. We were supposed to do this. This is kind of embarrassing. As an Air Force guy, the Army does this stuff a lot. They have like a field training exercise where you go out with your weapons and stuff. But for me and my unit at the time during basic training, we didn't do this because it was raining. We didn't do it because it was raining, and we skipped it. That says a lot about the Air Force, right? But these guys got a bright and sunny day, and Space Force are out there doing their thing.
With your body, T.
Very interesting.
To the right.
Let's move ahead here.
If we're paid enough money,
Somebody screwed up.
don't you think they might be inclined to take advantage of unattended weapons? If we're paid enough money?
He's talking about people taking advantage of unattended weapons. And this is the tough part, I guess, with the Space Force. And even with the Air Force to some extent. How are you going to deal with threat environments? What are your threats? When you're downrange, you're going to get deployed and you're going to be going to overseas locations. But what is your proximity to the enemy? It sounds like he's saying that maybe there's a contractor from maybe a foreign country that may take your weapon if they're paid enough. But man, if that's the nature of threats, sign me up. In the Air Force, man, I had it easy, but my job kept me out doing the crazy stuff with these jarheads and stuff. There's a uniform. What does that look like, man? That's like some kind of something out of Dune or something, right? I can't get over that uniform right now. It's going to evolve. But man, let's get you guys a bigger view of that. I'm struggling with that uniform. And as the branch gets more of its own identity, as it gets its own culture, it's going to look and feel a lot less like the Air Force. They're recycling the blue shirt underneath their dress uniform there. They're recycling the shoes and the hats and everything, it seems. But wow, that graduation attendance group, ours is probably 2 or 3 times bigger. The Space Force is so small. I've worked with the Space Force, and the thing about it is people are like, what is the Space Force? Isn't this a joke? There was even a TV show with a comedian, I can't think of his name, you guys put it in the comments, kind of making fun of the Space Force. But as a guy that worked in space operations in the Air Force, it was very much needed. We realized that we're going to be in this job as Air Force people doing space operations for 3 to 4 years as an enlisted person, 2 years or so as an officer. So they kind of trained me to be pretty much a rocket scientist in that short amount of time. And I'm like, I'm going to learn all this information, and then I'm just going to kind of like offload it at some point, and then go to my next job working with fighter jets or with mobility aircraft, or even doing staff work. So by having people who are in this for their entire career, you don't lose that corporate knowledge, and then you begin to see more benefits, because somebody's not just there 3 to 4 years. That's a service member. They're there for 12, 16 years, and then going to another space assignment, or 4 years, going to another space assignment, and accumulating more knowledge. Very much needed. So there's a Space Force, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Let me know if you got any questions. Start the conversation in the comment section, and hope to see you guys soon. Catch you later.